Financial Arguments. Follow us on YouTube.
Now, since 2008, we understand that the real estate bubble popped and a lot of people lost their homes and a lot of people decided to rent. And this is where rent started to move up because there was a lot of demand for rental units, and those people holding on to homes or apartment buildings or condos, they started to rent it to people because they were losing their homes. And people are going to say, well, who was buying up their homes? Well, it was hedge funds, it was investment companies, it was foreign buyers. They were purchasing the homes, and the people here in the United States were going off and living in rental units. And we saw rental units skyrocket. Rents continually increased over this period of time. And now we see the demand is slowing, and rental prices, well, they're starting to plummet once again, and the U.S. rental vacancy rate is starting to rise. Now, we saw it drop right after 2008 because what has happened at that point, and remember, before 2008, people were buying homes. They weren't really renting. So everyone was like getting out of rental units, going into homes, buying condos, and everything else, and the vacancy rate was very, very high. After the recession hit, all of a sudden, people were forced out of their homes and they were going into rental units. So the U.S. rental vacancy rate dropped. But we're seeing it rise. We're seeing it move up once again. It's starting to rise once again. And this is because there's no more demand the demand is still there, but it's not as large as it was during the recession period. And what we're seeing right now is there's going to be problems moving forward because in New York City, the median asking rent for one bedroom dropped around 4.3% year over year to around $2,870. For two bedrooms, it dropped about 10.7% to $3,100. Now, this is still very expensive, and we're not just seeing this in New York City. We're seeing it in other places like Chicago, for instance. Apartment rentals, a one-bedroom dropped by 15.9%. A two-bedroom dropped 15.6%. We're also seeing it in Seattle. We're also seeing it in Boston. We're also seeing it in Oakland, California. We're seeing it in Miami, Florida. And it goes on and on and on. And what we're seeing right now is that people are not able to pay this type of rent. And the demand is not there anymore. And what we're seeing is that these people are not going to purchase homes. They're staying where they are. Everything's evened out. And all these homes that they were building and all the homes that have been, caught up in the hedge funds and investment companies and the foreign purchases, well, they're just holding on to the homes looking for people to rent this. Now, they were instructed to rent it or just hold on to it. Do not let it go. Banks, for foreclosures, they were letting people just live in the homes so those foreclosures didn't go on the market, where then it would basically lower the housing prices. If you keep more of the houses off the market, it increases the value of the homes because there's not many out there to sell. So what we're seeing right now is the reverse is happening. And we're going to see the vacancy rate continually move up. We're going to see rents come down. And this whole thing is starting to look like, yes, 2008 once again. And we're headed in that direction. We see Trump is out there, and he is proposing that we repeal Obamacare's individual mandate to fund his proposed tax cut. Now, I agree with getting rid of the mandate. Actually, I agree with getting rid of Obamacare completely, but getting rid of the mandate would help a lot. Now, think about it. All the people who say that insurance is too expensive because you're caught in the middle, you're not getting the subsidies, the corporation that you're working for maybe is not paying for your insurance, or you lost your job and you need insurance, but it's just too expensive, or you have a couple part-time jobs and the insurance is too expensive, so you opt out of it, and now you're being taxed. Well, think about it. If we got rid of the tax mandate, remember something like 7.5 million people paid the tax mandate. If we got rid of it, this money would go back into the people's pocket, and people would be able to use it to survive or spend in retail or some other place. And I agree with Trump right now that this should be removed completely. And he's saying that if we do this, this would save quite a bit of money. Now, are they going to do it? We don't know. The amount that the government will save, they're saying over the next decade, and they always come up with all these different numbers, $416 billion. Now, I don't really care that it saves the government any money because they're going to just continually borrow. What I'm concerned about is it's going to put money back into the people's pockets. And the people will be able to buy more food, maybe survive a little bit better, maybe go out and purchase things that they really need. And I think this would be a complete plus for the everyday person. Now, the Fed had their meeting today, and they're saying that they're leaving the policy completely unchanged. Now, what's very interesting about this is that the central banks, they are backed into a corner. There's no way out for them. There's nothing they can do. They already brought the interest rates to the lowest point they possibly can. They can't raise the interest rates, or this would cause a chain reaction in real estate, auto loans, student loans, corporate debt, the governmental debt. I mean, it would just be a complete and utter nightmare. But what's very interesting about all of this is that since they've made no changes because they're stuck, they can't do anything right now. They don't want to touch it because they thought that they were going to have the establishment in power where they could push some type of an event to cover up the collapse. Now, since this is not happening, this is very difficult to do because they don't want to be blamed for this collapse. So they have to be very, very careful in what they do to make sure that the economy doesn't come down. Now, they were going to bring it down, and they can do it in a split second, but they're trying to do nothing at this point because they don't want to be blamed for the economy coming down. And the economy is so bad off that they're saying that the economy, and this is, I'm talking about the Fed, they're saying that the economy is doing fantastically. They upgraded the growth from moderate to solid. They're saying that unemployment is great. Inflation is stabilized around 2%. They said the marketplace is strengthening and everything looks great. Now, the last time they said this, where everything is contained and everything is fine, was right before we had the recession of 2008. The reason why they're saying this is because they want to keep the illusion alive that everything is absolutely perfect. And this is why they're putting this message out there, because if it does come down, and they already started the propaganda with the corporate media saying that, yes, the economy looks like it has problems, but if it does come down right now, without any type of an event, they will be blamed for everything. This is why they need a distraction. And it's a little tricky right now because they were expecting to have a distraction if the cabal, the deep state, the establishment was in power. But they're not. And this is the major problem for them. And we can see right now that they have major problems all around the world. First of all, the debt is unsustainable. We see that cryptocurrency is growing and growing and growing. Other countries are looking into it. Iran is looking to use cryptocurrency. Many other countries are looking at cryptocurrency because if you really think about it, cryptocurrency allows them to get around all the sanctions. It gets around the private Western Central Bank, and the countries don't have to worry about dealing and borrowing funds. And I do believe that cryptocurrency will eventually be the wave of the future of all the different countries using currency. Now, the central banks, they don't want this to happen. They're going to pressure governments to create laws to say that people must use this type of coin. That's what they're going to try to do. I'm not going to say this is going to be successful, but they did it back in 1913. Everyone had to use what? The Federal Reserve note. In Europe, everyone had to use the euro. They're going to try to do it with the crypto market. Will they succeed? Well, we don't know as of yet. And of course, once they do this, it will be centralized. So it will no longer be decentralized. It will never be free and open. It will be controlled. And this is exactly what they want. They want control of everything. And we can see that countries right now, they're moving away from the dollar. They're making preparations to work without the dollar. Either they're going with the petro yuan, or they're going with cryptocurrency, or they're bartering right now. And most of the countries are leaning towards cryptocurrency because it's much easier to use, it's electronic, and you can transact in these type of currencies. So what we're seeing right now is countries are getting prepared for what is coming. The Fed, they're backed into a corner. The central banks around the world are backed into the corner. They already prepped the world for a collapse. They moved everything from the west to the east. Everything is set. Everything's ready to go. All they need is some type of distraction, which they don't have right now. And this is the problem, because they need the distraction to say that someone else did this. Someone else collapsed the economy. And if you notice, Trump has really done nothing with the economy. It's basically exactly what Obama gave him. He didn't change anything. There's no new tax incentives. He didn't bring manufacturing back. He didn't do anything. Actually, it's exactly the way it was. The same manipulations going on. He's just keeping everything going. He's allowing them to manipulate the stock market. And he's showing that, yes, look, everything is great. Because what are they going to do? Blame it on him right now? He can say, well, I haven't changed NAFTA. I haven't pushed my tax code. That hasn't gone through. Obamacare is still there. I have done nothing, and you're telling me the economy is just falling apart? How could this be? Because this was a handoff from Obama, and he said, I'm passing a strong economy over to Trump. And you can see that the manipulation is continuing right now. And he's doing this on purpose, because he's playing their game. But as we know, eventually this system's going to come down. And I don't know if the Fed will be able to control the system when it does start to come down, because I think it's going to come out of left field and they're not going to know what to do at this point. This is why they don't want to touch too much, because they know one little thing could set it off. And that's why they're just keeping it the way it is. So don't listen to the corporate media. Don't believe what they're saying, because most of the stuff what they're saying is really not true. It's fake news. We've been looking at the economic data, and in my opinion, when we look at all this economic data, we see that different sectors, well, they're deteriorating very, very quickly. And we are realizing that the economy over a very long period of time has been declining, not improving, which tells you you need to be prepared and ready for what is coming. Other countries are getting prepared. They're making preparations to make sure they're ready for when something hits. You need to do the same thing. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared.